You are now watching Bathroom Break Wrestling. Enjoy.
Hey, what's up guys? Eddie Phoenix here from Bathroom Break Wrestling, and today I'm going to talk about something which made me very upset to watch back recently, and that is the final match of Kurt Angle against Baron Corbin at WrestleMania 35. So I watched back the final match, and just immediately the first thing that struck me was the lack of reaction from the crowd, man. It was really sad to watch. Obviously the people didn't want to give Kurt a lack of respect for what he's done, but I think the crowd were just on edge waiting for a change of plan, for a swerve. I don't think they wanted to believe that Baron Corbin was really the final opponent for Kurt Angle. And that's no disrespect to Baron Corbin. I just think people had expected John Cena. They knew that Kurt Angle wanted John Cena, and there was no promo package for the match. Kurt Angle announced the match against Baron Corbin on Raw. It all just felt like a little bit too small of a deal for as big of a deal as Kurt Angle's retirement really is. And I think people thought, well, it has to be something different to this. Maybe they're setting us up for a change. John Cena had actually showed his face just a couple of segments earlier, having a bit of a back and forth, word for word with Elias. So he's in the building, so it's even worse. It's not like fans, thought that John Cena was miles away. They know he's present, they know he's in the building, they know Kurt Angle has his final match coming. No John Cena, just a standard entrance from Baron Corbin. I think the real issue with the Kurt Angle versus Baron Corbin match, if you're going to big up someone else who's maybe not a main event caliber wrestler in the way that John Cena is, or a big superstar, then I think they needed to at least have someone with a really good history with Kurt Angle. And they tried to build that up with Baron over the course of the past 6 months or so with Kurt Angle as the manager on Raw, and a bit of a back and forth beef that they had, but it didn't really ever feel like that would be the last match for Kurt, or worthy of that match. They didn't have a really big feud. There was no legendary matches ever between the two. And people know that Baron, while he's a good worker, he's not in the Shawn Michaels caliber of guys who's going to help out Kurt, who at this point really is, a bit more beaten down, a bit more broken down. He's not going to be able to carry the match on his back. He needed someone to help him out a bit to make it into something special. So someone like a Chad Gable, for example, is someone who wouldn't be a main event caliber wrestler, but he has the amateur background. He's a former Olympian in amateur wrestling, just like Kurt Angle is. He is, was a close friend and tag team partner of Kurt Angle's storyline son in Jason Jordan, and he's also technically great in the ring and can carry the match, or at least help him carry the match. And he's smaller, so Kurt can pop him up for the suplex much easier than he would have to for a guy like Baron Corbin, who's, 6'7", 6'6", a big dude. And I've got to appreciate that Baron Corbin, I could see he was putting a lot of jump into the suplexes he was taking from Kurt in the match, but even still, it's got to take a lot out of you to suplex Baron Corbin, and that makes the match slower. It makes it harder for it to get a real pace and a rhythm to it. Poor Baron, man. I think Baron did really try his best. I think he was professional. He even did the "You Can't See Me," the John Cena reference in the match, which I liked. But I think when the crowd is disappointed to the level that they were, it's no longer a heel heat that Baron Corbin was getting. It was more of a disappointment from the crowd. So rather than him getting booed and him getting heat for beating up Kurt Angle, it was really just a silence through a lot of the match. And it was just the guys were trying their best to work. They only had limited time given to them anyway, and I heard that time got cut short because of an excessively long Triple H match with Batista just beforehand. So everything was just piling up to make this to be the worst possible scenario, really, that could be given to them. And Baron tried his best. He tried to get some heat. He put a lot of effort into the match, it looked like to me. Kurt wasn't quite himself, but he was still, in decent shape. He was doing his moves. He was doing his suplexes. Even went up for the moonsault, and I love Kurt Angle's moonsault. And I think that was probably the best moment of the match, was that the way he waved to the crowd before he went up for that moonsault. I think the crowd then really got the feeling, okay, this is it. This is the last match for Kurt, and this is the last time we're going to see him do the Kurt Angle moonsault. And he did it quite nicely, fell flat on his face, as he always does with the moonsault. And that was a good way of getting the crowd up on their feet and watching something to lead them into the finish when Baron hits him with the end of days and it's over. I like that they booked Baron Corbin's finisher, End of Days, to be strong. However, I think if ever there was a time for Kurt Angle to kick out at least once, that would have probably been it. At least to give it a bit more build and a bit more drama. And then maybe hit him with a second End of Days afterwards. I just look back on the Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels career-threatening match and look at the contrast between the two. everything about those matches is just wildly different, you know? And I think when you look at the contrast between Shawn Michaels really bigging up the drama and, you know, having the history with Ric Flair, being a smaller guy, being someone who can carry the match, and then Rick fighting through, taking the brunt of the offense, but finding those quirky and, you know, heel ways to get the upper hand. The story just played out in such a nicer way, and the crowd was so invested because they knew it was the end. They knew it was the right end for Ric Flair at that age. And none of that at all applied for Kurt Angle. It didn't feel like an emotional finish. It felt more like the air was just sucked out of the room. People didn't want to believe that was the finish. They couldn't wrap their head around the idea that was the end. Especially, I think, after Batista had just been retired before that in a 25-minute match with Triple H. And you follow it up with then Kurt Angle getting I don't know how long it was, like 5 minutes or so, with Baron Corbin, with no promo package, no build-up, nothing really of any extensive interest. And yeah, it was a rough one to watch back. But again, you know, no disrespect to Baron Corbin. I actually quite like Baron in some ways. I just think he's not getting the reaction from the crowd right now, and there needs to be more given to him in terms of character to make him more interesting. But he's got great size. He's athletic for his size. He's smoother in the ring than a lot of other big guys are in WWE, and that's saying something positive for him. And he's got a cool finisher, which always helps. But I'm not a huge fan of his music. I think they need to drop the King Corbin gimmick right now, and I think they need to give him something to make him a bit more interesting, because he does seem like he tries, and he seems like he understands the business fairly well, and he knows how to get heat in some ways, but they just need to let him, you know, let loose a bit more. I think he looks a little bit too uptight. But let me know what you think. What did you think of the match? Were you expecting John Cena or someone different? What was your initial reaction when you watched the match? But for me, yeah, the worst possible reaction you can have to any kind of match is, oh. It's the same reaction I had when Undertaker got retired. There was no heat for Brock. It was no, boo, Brock, you suck. I want to see you get beat next time. It was just, oh, all right. So that's it then. And that's a horrible, horrible reaction. Anyway, I'll have another video up with you very soon, probably next weekend. In the meantime, have a good week. Peace.